Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically we're just regular dudes drinking irregular beers, talking about some world-class magic.
Yeah, and that's the topic for today. We are breaking down the World Championship for you and our fantasy league that has officially ended.
Almost a year ago, man.
Yeah, I know. Holy crap. I can't believe it took that long. But we stuck it through, or whatever. Anyway, but first, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
Okay, I have a beer called 20 Hazy Years from Black Oak Brewing. It's a New England IPA, 6.5%. So Black Oak, as far as I know, is like one of the kind of original craft brewers in Ontario. It's right here in Toronto. And so, well, I guess it's called 20 Hazy Years. So I guess they must have started in like 2001 or around there, which is kind of when craft beer started hitting the scenes here. And this is a beer they made to celebrate it. What I liked about it is it has oat and lactose. So for those in the know or not in the know, oat tends to make it more body forward when you put oats in your beer. And lactose, the reason you see lactose in all these IPAs is that, well, lactose is a sugar, right? But it's special because it doesn't ferment. So it leaves sweetness in your beer. It doesn't ferment the sugar out into alcohol. And so it kind of makes it like creamy and sweet. So I thought those two could be an interesting combo.
Very cool. I like that. That's a nice little tidbit. Hey, very cool. I have brought Dead and Dead from Rogue, which is over in the U.S. It's over in Oregon. And anyway, this is their Dead Guy Ale that's aged in oak Dead Guy whiskey barrel chips. So using barrel chips, you can age things similarly as you would in an actual barrel. It just works faster, basically. Because there's more surface area. But anyway, it is a whopping 9.5%. Whoo! Did not realize that when I picked it up from the store. So we're going into it, and there is a nice picture of a skeleton that is in a barrel drinking beer, of course, obviously.
Yeah, I can't believe we've never done this before. Because one of the interesting things is that Dead Guy Ale is the name of like an old deck. And so Dead Guy Ale used to always mean black-white mid-range. So kind of like this like low-to-the-ground black-white deck that would just 1-for-1 and kill you with their 1 and 2 drops.
Okay.
And it was a mid-range deck. And the guys named it that because they liked Dead Guy Ale so much. That's the only reason. Their like testing team built this deck, loved Dead Guy Ale, probably drank it while testing, and called the deck that. Maybe the beer inspired the deck creation. I don't know. I think it might have even been like John Finkel, like those kind of guys back in the day.
Oh, wow.
So if you ever hear someone say I'm playing Dead Guy Ale in Legacy or something, they mean black-white mid-range.
How did I not know that? And how did we never do that before?
I know, right?
So this is basically...
Plus, we love rogues.
Yeah, I don't know. I love Rogue. There was a brewery down the street from where I lived in San Francisco that was their kind of pop-up brewery shop. Or I guess ale house or something. So I used to go there all the time and have different ones. I don't think I've had this one before. But anyway, that's why I immediately saw the star and Rogue and went to it. But yeah, anyway. Magic news.
Lots of it.
Holy crap. Lots of news, but that World Championship was fucking exciting.
Oh, it was great. I watched pretty much all of it. Like I was busy throughout the weekend, but I'd get home and watch the VODs, before going to bed or something. A couple hours here, a couple hours there. And I realized by the end, like, normally I do stuff like that, and then I kind of like, all right, I've seen enough. I get the gist. It's kind of cool. Maybe I'll tune back in for the finals, maybe not. But I realized I was just loving it, and I watched everything.
So that's lucky for you because I had to work most of the weekend and some other family obligations, so I wasn't able to watch a bunch of it. I did just get to see a bunch of the draft and stuff at the beginning, but I was like just basically jumping on Twitch to see the scores because you don't have a really good way of checking scores when you're not watching it. So I was in and out of matches throughout the whole weekend, and I went back and watched the important ones. But man, was it really exciting, and we're going to dive a lot more into it. Obviously, that's what this whole episode is about, but I knew I was excited for it, but I loved it so much.
Yeah, that was one of the best tournaments I've watched in a very long time.
In a very long time. Maybe even the best. I don't know. Anyway, hey, if you didn't know, by the way, there's a standard arena open this weekend.
And if you didn't know, don't worry about it, because almost nobody knew,
Nope.
except Arne Huschenbett.
Yeah. Basically, right after Worlds, Arne was like, oh, by the way, there's like a standard open this weekend, so if you didn't know, get ready. And everyone's like, wait, what? And I was one of those people that was like, what?
Yeah. You mentioned it to me that he tweeted that, and then I was just like browsing Twitch and I saw his stream, and the title was just top 16 Worlds. Now I'm practicing for the Arena Open. I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah, because spoiler alert, Arne did not do very well in Worlds.
Top 16.
Yeah, of 16 players. Perfect. Love to see it. There was also a ban and restricted announcement that happened today. So, Jeff, what happened with that?
Nothing. Oh. Oh, you mean like details. So they're not making any changes to standard. They have acknowledged that they're keeping an eye on Alrund's Epiphany and Asika's Chariot, which are two cards that people are complaining about. Some people think you should ban Epiphany, some people think you should ban both, and some people think you should ban neither. So I don't think anyone is asking for just Chariot and not banning Epiphany, but other than that, all of the possibilities are being asked for. But they said, listen, Crimson Vow's coming out soon. We're going to see if that shakes up the metagame. If Alrund's Epiphany and Asika's Chariot continue to be the only things you can really do, then we'll take action or we'll think about it.
Yeah. And I like that. I like that they're just saying, like, we've all thought of this for a while. Be like, they're probably just waiting.
Yeah.
And they officially just said, hey, we are waiting. And deal with it.
Yes, soon as someone pointed that out to me, because originally I was like, oh yeah, just get rid of them now. We can already see that they're busted. But then I remembered that, they're actually in an unusual time frame right now. There is a new set coming in a few weeks. Yeah, well, okay, just wait then. If it was going to be, like Zendikar Rising, where the next set call time is coming out in January.
Or February.
Yeah, just ditch them now.
Exactly.
And while you're at it, throw Goldspan Dragon in there, because otherwise that's going to be the only card you can play.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I really like the decision as well. I think that's the right move.
Yeah, for sure.
And it makes me happy because it's like they think that something in Crimson Vow is going to be better than Alrund's Epiphany and Asika's Chariot. It's like, holy shit.
We'll see
We're reprinting Oko and Uro.
Oh.
You're welcome.
I can't wait till the Crimson Vow card comes out and it
Unbanning Omnath.
kills all dragons or something.
Kills all dragons. Players can't take extra turns for the rest of the game.
That would be the worst card.
The token would be created. Instead, you create the token.
Yeah.
Hard counters all of them.
Oh my god. So dumb. But there was some shakeups in Historic, which I forgot was a format because I haven't been playing it at all.
Yeah, I've just been really into Limited, and I'm cooling off a bit on Limited now and then moving more into Standard. But I was just playing a ton of Draft.
Same. So yeah, I haven't really played Historic since, back in, I can't even remember the last time I played. So anyway, there are some bans there and suspensions. So Tybalt's Trickery is banned in Historic, and Brainstorm is officially banned now from Suspended, which is good, which means you get wild cards. However, Memory Lapse is also suspended in Historic, which means no wild cards there. But, if the trajectory is the same as Brainstorm.
Memory Lapse is so annoying.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's time to move away from Is It and Jeskai decks and get something else going in there. Could be a big reason why I haven't played. So
yeah, and Tybalt's Trickery, I don't know, I haven't played like you. I haven't played in a while, but there's just no games of Magic that are super fun that involve Tybalt's Trickery for the opponent. Maybe the person who's playing it loves that on turn 2 they just win the game because they had this card, but everyone else is not having fun. So whether it was too powerful or not, I'm just happy. We just don't need those decks to be around.
Yeah, because they added that one card from Modern Horizons 2 that it's the 4-mana red spell that cascades into something, and so
all it does is cascade, right? It has cascade and flashback, or
retrace.
Even worse. Yeah, even worse. That's retrace.
Yeah, so it literally cascades into Tybalt's Trickery that then does the thing. So it means that you have a bunch of extra copies of Tybalt's Trickery in your deck. It's really annoying. So anyway, so I'm glad that those, you know, they had to go. It's good. Had to go. But the more exciting stuff, Jeff, we're finally getting to do this. We've talked about this for a while, but it's happening.
Yeah, they are nerfing and buffing cards. They're changing cards.
Here we go.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Like, that doesn't sound like a big deal to any of our listeners that came from other digital games, because every digital game does this. This is the first time Magic has ever done that. Like, they've errated cards that were obviously printed wrong. That's a different story. Like, it was meant to say something, and there's a printer error. They're like, all right, well, your card doesn't actually do that, obviously. Like, it does this
or
thing
like,
that makes sense.
They'll do little flavor things where they add creature types afterwards and stuff.
Yeah, like something that was obviously, you know, a wolf, but they didn't have, or like a dog or whatever, they didn't have dogs in the game at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So they've now errated it to be a dog.
The big one they did, the one they did recently is like the Phyrexians all are Phyrexian now as a creature type, which before it wasn't.
Right. Which is like not confusing at all because it's usually like in the card's name.
Almost always.
This is a Phyrexian.
Yeah, obviously. But now they are going to do what they said they would do with the digital only cards, is they're going to errata a few of them. And most of it is just to stop degenerate combo stuff or buff little things that could be better, which I think all of the changes seem great to me. So
yep, they all seem reasonable. Again, I haven't played, so I don't know if they were warranted. But obviously, you're mentioning Davriel, or alluding to Davriel's Withering, which can now only target an opponent's creature. So like, basically, it's like you have to use this card as it was intended, and not for your dumb Esperlark combo.
Exactly.
And then for flavor reasons, Davriel's ability is changed to do that as well, because it's Davriel's Withering.
Yeah, and I think also to do similar things, but
yeah, that'd be such an unreliable combo though, because you you have to get the 4-mana, like that would be a lot worse.
Oh,
probably
for sure,
not an issue.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's they aren't huge things. The rest of them are just barely changing. It's like Faceless Agent is now a 2/2 instead of a 2/1. So it helps a little.
Yeah, I like the buffs, right? Like the buff to Sarkhan is cool.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, nobody's playing this card. Let's make it a little better.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's like, hey, it's just like the +0 ability on Sarkhan that gets you a Shivan Dragon. Well, now it's +1. So then you don't.
Right.
It's not a downside to get a Shivan Dragon, because it shouldn't be a downside to put a Shivan Dragon in your hand.
Exactly. It makes more sense as a +1.
Exactly.
For sure.
So overall, I'm happy with them and excited to see what the other ones are like. And keep them coming. It did say in the article, though, that they are working towards like rebalancing other cards possibly in the future. They don't know how they're going to do it logistically, but this might be the beginning of Arena having, like, the cards in Arena will be different than the physical cards. That's kind of where we're going.
Yeah, so there was one thing where they said, they basically said, we will only be rebalancing the digital only cards for now. Like, they explicitly put "for now" in that sentence, which I was like, oh, that means that they are leaving themselves open to changing the Arena version of a card and the print version behaving differently. But they did say that, like, Standard will be the same, right? Like, Standard, they said Standard will be the same. The print formats, like Standard, will continue to work exactly like they do in Tabletop. So, is there going to be, like, a historic version of a card and a standard version? Probably not. They're probably only going to change historic only cards, even if they have paper equivalents.
Yeah, which means it would really just affect, maybe it would affect like your historic deck and then your commander deck or something. Maybe it wouldn't be like just rotated standard cards. Maybe they won't do, unless it's like, oh, let's fix a banned card and then we'll try to fix it, which I'm also okay with. So I don't know, bring it on.
Because they tried that whole thing with the like rebalanced banned cards.
Yeah, in the summertime.
However long ago.
Yeah.
I didn't play it, so I don't know how it was received. But
I also didn't play it. It didn't seem that exciting to me. But if they released them for a period of time that was longer than like 2 days, maybe.
And the idea was kind of flawed to me, because it's like when they put it up, everyone was like, we had just finished playing against Oko and Teferi. And now they're like, hey, do you want to try this format where you can still play against those cards, but they're kind of a little bit worse? I'm like, no, I just don't want to play against those cards. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't even care if they suck now. I just don't want to see that card on the other side of the battlefield for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there we go. But big news. Happy we actually got to see the news. which is
Yeah, unusual for us.
usually this would be a tweet tomorrow morning. Anyway, I do actually have some Twitter drama. This was big on the weekend.
It's been a while for
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I actually saw this, so I'm
Yeah.
glad you put it in.
So we have some Twitter tweets this week. Big news. We're not really jumping on anybody's side because obviously it's just fun to talk about if you don't know what happened. But it made the weekend a little bit more spicy and exciting for me, at least, just watching it unfold.
I'm kind of on like both people's sides in a way, right? Like,
Yeah.
There's sides. Anyways, you tell it and then I'll.
Exactly. So basically, Andre Strasky had just become 6-0 on the weekend. So he started out 3-0 in the draft and then just blazing through standard. And he was one match away from becoming 7-0 and going straight to the top 4. So this is huge. So, spoiler alert, Andre Strasky did very well. Obviously, I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
But before his last match on Twitter, this person, I don't know how to pronounce their name. It's like Zan
Saeed.
Zan Saeed. Seems to be a famous MTG grinder. Played a lot of MTGO, I think, and is on Arena and plays a lot and is a good player, like a strong mythic.
He was
player.
big on the Star City Games circuit.
Okay.
So actually, because of COVID, they didn't have a Star City Invitational last year, or whatever. So technically, he's the reigning Star City Invitational champion.
Oh, interesting.
Because he won it in like 2019 or whatever.
Okay. See, I didn't know a lot of this. So to me, he seemed like just a random person. And then people were telling me
he's really good.
Really good.
He's very good.
But anyway, so he adds Andre Strasky just to give him a heads up, kind of. But he says, and I quote, at Andre Strasky, please stop boarding out your burn down the house in the mono green matchup. Goldspan Dragon is trash. Which, oh my gosh. It's so funny.
Aggressive.
It's aggressive to give the 6-0 player tips or basically telling them they're playing wrong while they're doing so well.
Yeah, if you've ever like seen Zan, he's kind of like that though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just says what he thinks, and he's not afraid to like. I think when the deck lists came in, I saw on his stream that he was like, the Grixis deck is trash, and the Czech deck is the best deck in the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's just willing. Everything else is garbage, and this deck is the best. And you'll see this deck is going to do the best. So.
But then now
he's just like prone to that kind of thing.
Okay, well, just hilarious to me.
And I don't know if it's for ratings or whatever, like because people enjoy it, right? Like whatever.
Exactly.
And he does have the skills to back it up, which I think a lot of people that were commenting on this were like, it's like no, he's not as good as Andre Strasky, but he's very good.
Yeah. So. Anyway, so Andre does quote the tweet so everyone gets to see. And then he just says, thank you. Now that I have this information, I will be unstoppable. Which I thought was a hilarious way to
yeah, can I just say I love that response. Like, and I've seen people complaining like, oh, he shouldn't have dunked on Zan like that. I was like, did he though? I thought it was just a really funny response.
Yeah, it was like, I'm acknowledging what you're saying and thank you for it, and
the best part is he did like the flexing emoji.
Yeah. It was so funny. Oh my god. It was
a perfect response.
Yeah.
And like he wasn't being that aggressive. Like this isn't as aggressive as Zan's tweet.
Exactly.
Was.
And he kind of deflected it, and he's also on a high at the moment. So basically in between those things he like is 6-0, tweets this back, and then goes and smashes the next match, goes 7-0, goes straight to the top 4, and is having a fucking ball.
Was his next match against Mono Green? Do you know? I really wish, like, I can't remember. I hope he, like, boarded in Goldspan Dragon explicitly. Like, they showed that on camera.
I'm pretty sure his last match was not against Mono Green.
Yeah, I can't think of who it would be. Right?
I can't remember.
It would have been Sam. And Sam was the only one in contention at that point. So.
Yeah, I don't think it was Sam. It was Noriyuki.
No, because he beat Sam earlier.
Yeah, it was Noriyuki Mori was his last match.
Oh, okay.
So
he never played against Mono Green again in the rest of the event. So
yeah. So, which later on, and then the thing that was more controversial is that everybody started dunking on Zan and saying, "Oh, imagine being a blah 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 player and all this kind of stuff," and being more rude and mean about it.
Yeah, and that's the part I didn't like. Like there were some big names that I'm not gonna like throw out, but they were just. They made some tweets that kind of surprised me, where I'm like, wow, that's like unnecessarily rude.
Exactly. And they were also doing it like on company time and stuff. So Anyway, it doesn't matter. We don't really get into all that, but I just thought those two tweets together was really made for some fun drama on the weekend, which I liked. Also, some drama that I did not like, which we have to do a quick thing of a Zach fucked up thing, just because last week I was pronouncing Keisuke Sato's name wrong. I just kept saying Kaisuke, and that's my bad. So it's Keisuke Sato. I will be better at this. Sato. It's Keisuke Sato. Anyway, that's a lot of Magic news, but I am ready to get into the results of the World Championship.
Let's do it.
Okay. Now, Jeff, should we just start off with like the tournament or our fantasy teams? I think people want to know more about our fantasy teams, probably. That's the most important.
Oh, yeah, they definitely want to know exactly how many points each player on our fantasy team got and have no interest in who won.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about I'll say my team first and some of the scores and things that I had. So I picked Gabriel Nassif first, who was playing Grixis Epiphany, and then in draft he ended up playing Azorius. But overall, he only got 4 wins, which was very disappointing. I also chose him as my champion to get the things, and I didn't get many things. So that was a bummer. And then I had Sam Pardee on mono green and Orzhov in draft, and he got me 6 points, so pretty good. He was also in contention to go to the top 4, but he did not make it there, unfortunately. For me.
Because of the next player. Beat him 3 times.
Yeah, Jean-Emmanuel Depras was playing Moist Gruul and also Naya in the draft. He got me 9 total points, which is great because he did make the top 4 because he beat Sam Pardee in the tiebreaker match.
And also twice before that, he was like some of Sam's losses. And then in the tiebreaker match, beat him again.
So it's just like just punching him down. We'll see later that also similar thing happened to Jean-Emmanuel Depras with somebody else. So it kind of comes around, it's fine. Matt Sperling also in contention. So these last 3 players have been pretty good for me. Grixis Epiphany in standard and Demir in draft, and he got me 6 points as well. Also went to tiebreakers and did not make it. Rough. And then these next players just slowly going downhill. Yoshihiko Ikawa with Mono White and Azorius in draft with 5 points overall. Arne Huschenbett, who we talked about, is it Epiphany, and got a bye. He got a bye because he was doing so badly. He played Gruul in the draft, and I got 2 points from him. And then Stanislav Sivka, who was Is It Epiphany, and Rakdos in the draft got me 4 points. And then Keisuke Sato with Is It Epiphany and Rakdos in the draft got me 3, who also got a bye because he did so badly. Ugh.
Yeah, so for those who are wondering about the buys, basically what happens is once you get 7 wins, you're in. And so since a certain player, who we'll get to in a minute, got to 7 wins so quickly, that meant that there were only 15 players still competing. And so what they do is they just give a free win or a bye to whoever is essentially mathematically eliminated, right? Like in 10 rounds, you already have 4 losses. You cannot get to 7 wins.
Yeah, exactly.
So they just, here you go, that's a bye to even, because obviously with an odd number, you can't pair everyone into matches.
Exactly. So we went through, made sure that the players that got buys did not get points for winning those matches, and also the player that was giving out the buys also did not get those points for the matches.
I feel like we should have just counted buys as wins,
No, because it would have helped you, because I only had 2 of the players with buys. And then
I had the guy giving out all the buys. So.
Yeah. Anyway, in total from all my players, I got a whopping 39 points, which is not the worst.
Nicely done.
Thank you. However, would you like to talk about your team? I think you might want to.
Yes, I would. I would love to. Mm-hmm. So my first few, Zach's first few picks seemed really good. And mine seem less good, so hold on to your hats here. PVDDR, Paolo Vitor Damarosa, my champion, played mono green in standard and Orzhov in draft. Got me only 4 points, so I feel you on the champion you picked only getting 4 points. Mm-hmm. I also did not get lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Then I picked Seth Manfield, because Seth is a great drafter and a great standard player. Seth only got me 2 points. And like some of your players, he was awarded a bye for that performance, which we didn't count. Then we started to pick up a bit.
I would just
Ray Sato.
I just want to jump in really quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to say that you were really poised to take these mono green players. And how did it work out for you? How did it work out that I got? I got the best.
Well that ends well.
I got the best mono green player, so that does make me feel good. That
yeah, I mean, I almost picked Sam higher
over Seth
because he's just been on such a heater.
That's true.
He won the whole championship, and then in the qualifying thing, he like dominated it. And I was like, I think Sam is just in a state where he's like practicing a lot, playing a lot of Magic, and is just
he's locked in.
Great.
He's hungry, right? That's what I was talking about last week.
And as you saw, like he almost top 4'd this event. He was very close.
He was very close multiple times. So
yeah.
But sorry, continue.
But yes, mono green may not have been the best deck to target with picks for this event. But anyways, we had Ray Sato on mono white in standard teamer in draft. And he actually did well with that teamer deck. Got 2-1, losing only to PV. He got me 5 points. Eli Cassis was on the Grixis Lear deck, and he was playing Demir in draft, which is where you want to be. He lost in the finals of draft. He got me 6 points. Andre Strasky, who is my best performing regular rounds player, playing Izzet Epiphany in standard. He drafted Orzhov. 7 points, and I think we should have warned him those bonus points for like 7 and 0. But all right, well we'll stick to 7 points.
Yeah.
7 and 0, straight into the top 4. Had a monster day 1 and day 2.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Noriyuki Mori, Azorius Tempo in standard, Bant in a lot of 3-color decks in draft.
Yeah.
He got me 4 points. Jan Merkel, another Grixis Lear player, and he played Demir in draft. He got me 8 points. Whew, not too shabby. And then Yuta Takahashi, my last pick, Izzet Dragons in standard, teamer in draft, 10 points.
Oh, man.
That put me up to a grand total, for those counting along, of 46. Woohoo! Ding, 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 ding.
We have a winner,
Very excited.
folks.
Very excited for this. I would just like to thank my friends and family who supported me through this long and arduous process. My wife, Julia, was there every step of the way, you know, helping me with my draft orders and stuff. She tried to warn me against backing mono green, but I insisted. But we got there anyways. She was like, "Put Yuta Takahashi in your back pocket, save him for the end." Really talk shit about his deck going into it, so that Zach is thrown off the scent. You know, the whole strategy was executed perfectly, and you know, it's just a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive.
Oh, all right. So, for those of you who don't know, this means that Jeff has won. How many things is this? How many weeks have we done this? Events.
This is the 8th event, because we did 6, we were 3-3, and then we tied the 7th one. So we tried to do a best of 7, right, and it didn't work because we tied.
So you have won 4.5 events. Wow. Pushing you over the top, getting you there. You won Worlds.
To your measly 3.5.
We used to say that you won league weekends and I would win championships, but you won Worlds. Yeah. So there you go.
There you go. We didn't know who was the Worlds winner.
Mm-hmm. So now, I don't know at what point you're going to get it, but I will award Jeff with a weird 2-4 of beer, which is 24 randomly selected, specifically curated beers that are supposed to be paired with other beers.
Yeah, I mean, we have a beer sheet of all my highest rated beers.
So we also have a beer sheet with your lowest rated beers, so that's good too.
Well, yeah, it's the same sheet, I guess.
It is. It's just the same sheet. But as you could kind of tell, Jeff had some really good players and also had 3 players that made the top 4, while I only had 1 player that made the top 4.
That's right. It all came down to that Merkel versus Sperling winning in there to the top 4.
Yeah. So this weekend was also extremely exciting because we were doing this also because most of the time I would be watching a match and be like, oh, I really want this person to win. And then I'd be like, oh shit, no, sorry. I'm rooting for the other player because they're the one who's going to get me points on my team. Never mind.
Yeah.
Flip it around. I don't want to watch this deck do well. I want to see the other person do really well.
That's how I felt in the top 4. I was like, I really wanted Depra to do well once he was in the lower bracket. I'm like, wait, I don't want him to do well, though. But I think by that point, because I had 3 in the top 4, I just didn't care about it anymore. I was like, I probably got it. But
So
yeah, it was fun the whole time. Like, we had a lot of our players playing each other, and you were like less pumped for those matches than when my player was playing your player. I was like, oh, this is a doozy. This is
exactly.
Like,
you're like, here we go. But you know, there's no spoilers in sports, but we haven't really said it yet officially. But Jeff, who won the World Championship?
All right, your current Magic World Champion, who will be getting their face, or likeness, I should say, on a Magic card, is Yuta Takahashi.
Oh my god. Stellar performance. Amazing. Absolutely just phenomenal.
That was just like the coolest story, man.
It's...
For those who don't know Yuta, like, he's been a grinder for so long, like, always winning in the Japanese Grand Prix, coming across to America to whip our asses occasionally, and, you know, just, like 20 years that he's been just a dominant force in the competitive scene. And the best thing about him is he's not a meta deck kind of guy. He brings decks he likes, and he just plays well with them, even if the rest of the community doesn't consider them the top deck. And you could even say he did that here, right?
Absolutely. We were talking about it all last week about his Is It Dragons seemed like a ridiculous deck to bring. And we're just like, why would you bring this? And the fairy tale story, which is kind of the joke, is that he's a fairies player. And so it's a fairy tale. But he went 0-3 in the draft, which meant he needed to go 7-0 in standard to make top 4. Have a like really good, because otherwise his breakers would have been pretty bad. And he did. He went 7-0 in standard, made it to top 4, and then did it again. He never lost a match in standard. Sorry. Yeah, he never lost a match.
No, he did not lose a match in standard. Yeah.
That's insane.
He went 11-0 in standard matches.
That's ridiculous.
After going 0-3 in draft. It was amazing. When he went 7-0 to qualify, like, just imagine that, you know. He came in and he said, you know, I'm not that good at draft, but I am confident in my standard abilities.
Yeah.
And he goes 0-3 in draft. Like, you're hoping to come out 2-1 and 1-2, you'd be like, all right, I got some work to do.
Yeah.
0-3 is soul crushing because it's like you lose a single match, you're out. He rattled it off, somehow pulled it off, went 7-0, and then his emotion, like, they caught it on camera after that match, and he just went crazy. And that was one of the best moments of the tournament.
That's the best moment in Magic I've probably ever seen. You know?
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was him just like realizing what happened, and then he's yelling, "Yatta!" It was so cool. It was,
and like 30 seconds before, just laser focus.
Yeah. It's also like really early in the morning for him, right? So he's up like...
Oh, yeah.
So like you're also exhausted because you're in Japan and everything's all screwed up. And man, it was very inspirational. And if you haven't seen those things, they've been flying all around. But it's really worth watching some of those moments because it really brings the life into Magic, being like, oh man, it means so much. Yeah. And he like bought himself a beta Black Lotus to give him luck. Basically with
the world's money, because they promised everyone the 50 grand or whatever.
So he was like, I'm just going to buy a beta Black Lotus because I've wanted one, and it's going to give me power to win. And then he did.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. Goldspan almost gives you a Black Lotus, but not quite.
Yeah, almost. You're right. But wow, just phenomenal. Also, Andre Strasky, goes 7-0, hasn't lost a match, then goes into the top 4 and loses the first 2 matches, and he's out.
That's the way it goes sometimes. You'd prefer your losses be in the Swiss, I guess.
Yeah, you'd rather get your losses at the beginning than at the end, right?
Still would have made it at 7-2.
Yeah, so... anyway, Jeff, I think we should take a beer break before we dive deeper into the stuff.
We needed to tell you who won, but I'm also out of beer, so let's grab another beer and tell you exactly how he won in more detail.
Getting these 20 hazy years. Oh,
Yes.
right.
And I have my super black-white mid-range here.
Yeah.
Double black-white mid-range.
Double black-white mid-range. What? That's almost like we're talking about the draft that happened this weekend. Do you like that?
Very good segue.
Yeah, so the segue works out to black-white was actually really good this last weekend.
Yes.
So I do want to talk about the draft portion of this because we've been really excited about Worlds and draft. So I think it's important to spend some time on it because we want to see more high-level draft. I want more
Definitely.
limited from professional players. I want it. And it was fantastic to me. I think a lot of people were complaining about it online for whatever reason, but I found it great. Did you like it? I loved it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
So, I didn't log into Twitter, so I haven't seen what the complaints could possibly be, but I thought it was great. Yeah, it was really enjoyable to watch. And I liked that we were watching my two players.
That
draft.
was annoying. Okay, so how they ran it down is that this is my number one complaint. I want to say is that they do this all the time whenever they're doing drafts. Is where they specifically pick one player to follow all their draft picks, so we know the story easier. So we had Paolo in the first pod. We were following his cards and saw him draft. And then the next pod, we had Seth Manfield, and we followed his picks, which is great for coverage, I think. It's nice to be able to watch one deck come together, and that's what we're used to, and all that kind of stuff. And then in between, they would kind of cut to what the table was doing and what their primary colors were to see kind of how things are shaping up. But I did want to say that on Sunday, there's a portion of the commentary where all they're talking about is how amazing it was to watch all the players draft at the same time from all the different screens. And I was like, what the fuck? Why?
So that's like an inside joke between four of you that none of us got to experience.
Yeah, and so they show like a clip of it. They're like, so this is what we were watching. It's kind of hard to see, but like it was amazing to watch this happen. Like it was so fun to be able to do that. I was like, why the fuck, if you could do that, were you not letting us see that?
Just broadcast that on like a separate channel, like Magic 2 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why can't I just sit and watch the packs go around and like have a viewing party on Twitch about it or something? Wouldn't that be cool? And you can like multi-Twitch with Paolo to see what's coming up and stuff like that. Like, it just seemed crazy to me that like that's what I've wanted. We talked about this like the first time we were doing these fantasy things, that we wanted the red zone for draft. And that's what they made, and they didn't let us watch
it. Great. They made it for like the casters so that they could grade all the decks or something.
Yeah, that was another thing. Okay, so I have some critique. I don't want to get too much into the casters, but I think we're kind of there at the moment. But there were some things about the draft that I think could be improved on. It is nice. We had some good graphics of like what the table was and all the players, what they look like, obviously, and what they were playing and what they were working towards. But number one, I wish we could see everyone draft at the same time so we can see all the packs in real time as like, at least an option, or something they would cut to every once in a while. Could be nice instead of just the table and the commentators saying things. But also, the commentators were just ranking decks based on what they thought, obviously, which is a normal NFL thing to do. If you're watching Sunday football or like a Thursday night football or something, they will have all the people that are sports people. They're not really the commentators because it's not the actual two people commentating the game, but it's the halftime show or whatever. They're all talking about who they think is going to win. So they do that in Magic, which is fine. But like rating the decks just missed, I think, a lot. And there was a lot of talk about it throughout it. I was hoping they would have maybe somebody else come in and rate them if they wanted to do that. Or go to Twitter, where all of the other pros who didn't make it to Worlds were like, these are my rankings of the decks, because this is what I think. And they were drastically different. Like, Mike Segrist was doing this, like Kai Buddha, I think, was in talking with people Twitter was ablaze of like all these pros saying,
Yeah, like what did Mike Sigrist, widely regarded to be one of the best limited players in the world. You could also get, maybe Ben Stark said, I really like this person's deck or something. Like LSV obviously has a whole podcast about limited Magic, has played a ton of the sets, hit Mythic #1. Let's ask these guys what they think, maybe. And like, no offense to Corey, he was the limited expert. I just remember thinking that was weird because Corey Baumeister's a great player, but he's known for his standard skill. Like, he's always done super well in Constructed. Maybe, I'm sure he's a great limited player too, but it's like, that's not what he's known for. It's kind of weird to have selected him as the limited expert.
And I think Corey's a great, I really like listening to him, and he's a great like guy, and I think a great Magic player. But it's another one of those just kind of, it's interesting why you're in this role. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I always think of, at least my impression of you is that you're a great standard player. Like, I remember he'd be at Pro Tours and he'd like 0-3 the draft, and then really have a hot standard run and be in contention or whatever, like kind of like Yuta, basically.
So interesting stuff with that. But I do think there is a bit of like filler where we could have gone back and listened to people talk about their decks. Like, I wish we had more segments where players were talking about why they made the choices they made in what colors and those kinds of things, besides just the one player we were following, which PV was awesome. It was great to watch him draft, and his deck really came together, I think, and was really interesting. And he himself has put out a video on his YouTube channel breaking down the whole draft, telling you exactly what he was thinking.
I need to watch that because I watched that draft and I have some thoughts, but I thought overall he drafted it really well, and it's a tough seat.
It was a really tough seat because when we jump back through pack 2, we realized that he's a white-black player or drafter, but so are 2 other people at the table. We're drafting white-black. He's sitting next to a white drafter. I think Yoshihiko Okawa is right next to him, who ended up being white-blue. The table ended up having only 4 black drafters, but at that moment, I think there were 5 until DeProd decided he was going to do Naya.
Right, and you say only 4. Like, that's a lot of people to be drafting. Well, I know black's deep in this, but like blue and black are deep, but they both had 4 drafters here. That's crazy.
It's crazy. So that was really interesting to hear later. So I'll link the PV's breakdown of his draft in the show notes, because it is a really interesting video and it's definitely worth watching.
So I was kind of thinking that he could take the what's the red spell that makes an elemental token or whatever that's powered to like
the storm.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right pick to start off the draft, but I've been impressed with those red spells decks more and more. And he would have ended up with like 3 or 4 of them.
He would,
as it turns out.
Yeah, and he also
that would have been a ballsy move though to first pick that.
He definitely inspired me to draft more colors and separate my cards in colors quickly. So it was fun to watch them actually how they break things down and how they're breaking things apart at the beginning, sorting cards into colors, and then at a certain point deciding and then sorting them by CMC and stuff. So that was really helpful.
I wish Arena had an auto sort for that though. I should be like, okay, auto sort CMC now, because what happens is I sort them CMC and then I double click something and it just goes into a random spot, and I'm like, I should be able, like on Magic Online, I can tell you I want them sorted CMC. Now I want them sorted color. Now I want them sorted by rarity. Like you could just do that. So.
Yeah, that's true. That would be great. I would also love that. I wish that
could do it in Arena too, just not while you're drafting for some reason.
Yeah, I wish that you could also separate it into like CMC creatures and CMC spells underneath, because that's how I usually, when I'm breaking my deck down in paper, I'll do it like that, so I can do both at the same time. But anyway,
I do the thing where I like move the spell to where I think I'm approximately going to be casting it.
Exactly. You're like, oh, this is an X spell. Where do I think realistically I'll be casting this? Is it going to fit in?
Or it's like a 2-mana removal spell's pretty unlikely to be cast on turn 2. That's more like turn 5, 4 or 5. I'm going to cast that and a 2-drop or that and a 3-drop or
exactly.
something.
So those kinds of things. But I loved watching the draft. That was fantastic. But again, I wish we could have seen more. I really wish that Jean-Emmanuel could tell me why he was going the way he did. What happened? I want to see more of that draft because he was playing. He was hard and white, and then he went white black, and then he switched to Naya, and I'm like, what happened? Like, what was the card that pushed you over? What did you have before? Like,
it was Burn Down the House.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, he opened Burn Down the House, and he was getting squeezed from both sides on white black. So
yeah, exactly.
But I want to see his draft because, like you're saying, they would just show white black, and then you're like, wow, everyone's white black around him. Like that can't be good for him. So I wonder how many. Like he probably had a few red cards, a few green cards, and then more white and black cards than anything else. So they just put him white black.
But maybe he wasn't really white black. He just had a lot of black cards that he was pulling. Anyway,
right.
That's just what I wanted to see, and not only that, but I wanted a cutaway to because we're kind of talking about coverage at this moment, but there was a lot of coverage of like how players got to Worlds and those stories, and it's like. Yeah, those would have been nice if they were just posted on Twitter or something. But like during the actual Worlds, I don't need you to show me clips of how Tom Brady got to the Super Bowl during the Super Bowl. I already know. Like, don't show me old videos of Tom Brady throwing touchdowns. I don't need to see that. I want to see you breaking down what's happening right now. That's all I care about, you know? And there was a lot of like, this is how this player got here, which I know it's because a lot of people don't know how they got there.
Right.
And I get that.
While I was watching, I think Martin Musa posted a comment that was like, in the Twitch chat, that was just like, so is there going to be any Magic played on this stream that's more recent than 6 months ago? Or is it...
It's just like, we could have cut to like more live games. We could have cut into stuff that didn't have commentary, that was during the breaks. We could have cut to players talking about the draft decks that they had just made and literally be like, you have to put a 1 minute video of you talking about your deck. And they just do it by themselves without somebody coaching them on what to say. It's possible. So
I remember like I was maybe 13 or something. Whenever it was Champions of Kamigawa. So it was that pro tour. But they had a thing where you would go to their website and it has like a graphic that's a draft pod and all the players. And you could click and you could be like, this was their first pack. And they chose this. And you could like hide their selection to try to pick yourself and then reveal selection. And then you could move to the next player down the table. And it was like an interactive thing where I could just see every card they opened, what they took. If I wanted that information hidden, I could get it revealed to me at a time. And I was like, that was so cool. And it's like, that was like 15 years ago. Why didn't we have something like that now?
Like, why can't they have an overlay that does that? Or why can't
that would have been acceptable to me. To me, that would have been like, okay, sure. I hope that I could go watch it or something with the modern advancements of technology. I could watch, like, even though they're not the mainstream, there's like a video on their website where I can go watch Jean-Emmanuel Duprat's draft if I wanted to.
Or even like this week, you go back and like, well, I want to learn from the pros who just did this.
Yeah.
I want to see where they were in. Overall, they all said that they had a fairly low-powered,
they opened some bad packs.
Some really low-powered packs. And it was like, what is it like doing that? How can you make the best deck of that? What does it mean to be in a low-powered pack? Like, all that kind of stuff. Like, why do you feel this way? Is it because you're not passing anything that you feel is really good? Is that, all that kind of stuff. I just wanted a little bit more, even just from people talking about it in between stuff, instead of more old footage of things from past stuff or like weird trivia things that don't matter,
And the last thing I'll say about it, because it sounds like we're super critical, but I actually loved it, and this is just like, I want it to be even better, and I want other people to appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah, you're definitely right. And this is from a place of love where I want it to be the best it can be, and I think we have some really good ideas about how it could be better. And that's why I want to talk about it, because I want more people to realize how great it can be. And it was so fun to even watch PV Draft on a world stage against these players who are sending real signals on purpose. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, all of these things are on purpose.
Totally.
So,
and like Seth Manfield too, like his draft ended up being a train wreck. But it's interesting. It's like, it doesn't just happen to me.
Yeah, it happens on, like, it can be...
This is one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And it happened to him, too.
Yeah.
He got train wrecked in the draft.
I also want to watch Yuta Takahashi. Well, what did he draft? What did he,
Yeah. How did his team or deck come to be?
How did that happen? And, like, how much of it... Was it at the same level of a train wreck as Seth's? Or, like... there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, you should have picked this or whatever."
Why didn't he smuggle some Goldspan Dragons into his deck and just?
He just has call time cards.
It's Goldspan Dragon, Alrund's Epiphany. You're dead.
But
I think you might have loaded your standard deck there, Yuta.
Yeah. You know what would be kind of cool? I think it would be fun if on Arena you could have a little stamp on your card. It's like, oh, you drafted this in a tournament, and you have the tournament stamp on your card, and you get to keep that.
Yeah, like the Pro Tour Grand Prix like stamp.
Yeah, it's like literally like a blue or purple stamp of like the date and like what it was. That would be kind of cool. It'd harken to
have
like
a
old school.
Thoughtseize or something with that because so cool. They. I bought it. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't do well enough in a Grand Prix to get
play
this far.
And do it.
They were just like, yeah, nobody wants to buy it, so it was way cheaper. I was like, I don't care, I'll buy it.
I think that makes it so much cooler.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
Where
so
has
that's
your...
almost, I wouldn't pay more for it, I don't think. I will pay less for it, though. That's an easy decision.
I would pay the same price, less, and maybe like a little bit more. But like...
Yeah, if it was like, it's like, I like this art better. It's only an extra $1 kind of thing.
Yeah, I would do that.
It's in that realm.
I'm not spending more than $5.
Because I also did that with my Thoughtseizes because I don't like the Theros art that much. So I paid the extra $1 for like the iconic Masters original one, but like original art. I mean,
I kind of like the Theros one where his hands are disappearing, but
yeah, I don't know. I think it's just because like
you're used to it with the.
I'm used to that one. The fairies or
the
whatever.
Fairies
because I'm a Yuta Takahashi fan.
Oh, of course.
Fairies player.
Bitter Blossom, right?
Knows his way around to Thoughtseize. Yeah, and so that's what I was going to say. Depra tweeted out something that I agreed with. As soon as I read it, I was like, yeah. But they were hyping up a lot of like 17 lands data. And data is great. But the thing is, all that data is from best of one arena. It's like a completely different format.
Exactly.
So instead of like saying, oh, this card has this win rate and this card's the best card for this archetype, stuff like that, his tweet was, why don't they ask the players how we got to the deck that we got and what we thought? Because they did ask the players what they thought of their deck at the end, but like, why not have us explain more about our draft instead of spending all the time talking about win rates of cards from a different format?
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. I saw that same tweet and I commented on it and I was like,
please tell me about your draft.
Depra,
I want to know.
You're the one I want to know about the most because yours seemed crazy and I don't know anything about it. So yeah, I am 100%. I want more draft and I want us to practice commentating it and get better at it. Like you just have to hit it so many times until you get it right. You need to just keep going. So I'm here for it. I want to watch all the pitfalls and all the peaks, but like let's just keep working, right? I don't want this to be like the majority were upset by whatever. And some people were complaining about like the games were kind of non-games because like people didn't get lands or whatever. I was like, I don't know. You're playing Magic. Like that happens sometimes. There were some standard games that were like that.
Come on, like if that didn't happen, I'd be like, this shit's fixed.
Yeah. You're like, oh, the shuffler's broken. If like they're not getting, like
but like real shuffler's broken,
exactly.
Not the like shuffler truthers that seem to find their way to Twitch. Like, how are the shuffler truthers watching the World Championship? It doesn't make any sense.
It's ridiculous. But anyway, I just I do.
That's why I hate this game. It's like, why are you here?
I kind of want to close a little bit of our talk on Limited because we did go off a little bit, but a lot of it was like just the way that they ran things.
Call it constructive criticism.
It is all constructive criticism, really. Like there are things that are happening that I don't agree with, and I want to say why, but I like that it's happening, and I want it to continue to get better. And so that's why I have very specific notes that I think should happen, change. Please work on these things.
So some things that I loved. Let's talk about some things that I loved.
Okay.
So, there's 2 pods of 8. The pods got, for us, the pods got split almost perfectly. They were 3 and 5, so both pods had 3 of one of our players and 5 of the other. You know, it would suck if it was like both pods were just our teams.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's super unlikely, but like, you know, none of the matches really matter. We're all just going to come out with the same equal
wash,
points.
yeah.
And so obviously 4 and 4 would be perfect to maximize the head-to-heads, but 3 and 5 not too shabby. And the way it worked out is both finals matches were head-to-heads for us. So it was Strasky versus Yoshihiko Ikawa, I believe. And then Sam Pardee versus Eli Cassis, I want to say, were the two like battles for 3-0. And one of our players won each of those.
Exactly.
So like Andre went 3-0 in one pod and Sam Pardee went 3-0 in the other. So that was like a super exciting start to the event.
And not only that, but they were in the same colors. And that's why we were talking about Dead Guy Ale. Wow, it took us a long time to get back to the Dead Guy Ale thing, but
we got there.
we got there. They were both playing white-black.
Black-white 3-0'd both drafts. Yeah.
Which is crazy because, you know, on my list of like best decks, that was like it was under at least like 3, you know?
Well, we put it at like
2,
the third
3.
best deck in our breakdown.
Something like that. Okay, second, third, or whatever. You know, third, fourth.
Yeah.
Best
So
deck.
I think like most people think blue-black and blue-white are a little like a significant margin better than black-white. But then we had black-white at third, and I think the community is starting to agree with us that black-white is the third best deck.
Yeah. But
they were all on like green, blue, and shit. We're like, nah, that deck's mediocre.
No, it's fine. But like you shouldn't be playing Magic that long. Like it's too long.
And it has to come together, right? That's the problem with it. Whereas black-white is just like take all these good white commons and all these good black commons, and hopefully you get the
good
uncommons
cards.
and there you go.
Exactly.
One of my favorite moments was so they did do a draft analysis, and then they would ask each player what they thought of their deck. And my favorite moment was Keisuke Sato. He had a black-red deck, and they were like, all right, you know, black-red's not where you want to be in this format, but he got some rares. His deck's okay. I like it. I'm going to give him a B+. Let's go see what he had to say about it. And then Keisuke Sato was just like, my deck is not good. And then the camera cuts back to them. It's like that's all he had to say about his deck. And I mean, he was right. He went 0-3 in the draft.
Yeah.
But,
my favorite moment of the draft was it was Eli Cassis versus Arne Huschenbett. Now I'm rooting for Arne because she's on my team, and Eli is on your team. So obviously, rooting for that. This is
one of those head-to-heads.
Yeah, I think this is game 3 of the match. So they both got 1-1. Eli Cassis is playing Demir, and Arne Huschenbett is on Gruul. So they're sitting there, and Arne's hand, he starts out with 2 forests and a bunch of red cards, but he had like 1 green 2-drop. So he's like, okay, I'll get there, you know. And the game really goes to a halt when like he just never gets a red source ever, and he never gets another land, and he never gets another red source. So either of those things would have been fine. Like he could have survived on like a 3rd green land, but like he just couldn't get it.
I've kept hands like that.
Exactly, and it just was like you're getting screwed, and it's just like it's so relatable. You're like, oh,
you keep forest, and you draw red card, for like red card, and then maybe
3.
a forest on like turn 7 when you're dead.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, thanks.
So he's never getting any of these lands, right? And all the commentators are saying like, you know, but Arne just needs to get a mountain off the top, and then we get back into it, and then like they are running out of things to say because there's nothing to say.
Right.
And Eli's deck is pretty slow, and he's like slowly deploying some like larger zombies and some other shit. And it's just like,
and he's also really good at those slow incremental advantages deck, like squeeze your opponent out of the game kind of things. Like,
but this is the moment. All right, so it's many turns where like, Eli is on like 5 or 6 lands, and Arne is still on 2 forests, and has played a couple of different 2-drops that are green. And Eli plays the 3/6 blue zombie Goliath thing that mills 3 cards off the top of an opponent or somebody's deck. So he's deciding, does he want to mill himself or does he want to mill Arne? And he's like deciding, I don't know. Usually it's better to mill yourself, but like I'm going to mill Arne. So he mills Arne. The top 3 cards, 3 mountains. Specifically 3 mountains. And then the next draw step, Arna draws a card. It's a red card, and it's not a mountain, and he can't play anything. And Arna's just like, what the fuck? Like, just sitting down like, oh my god, what the fuck was that?
You gotta give the nice after that.
Yeah.
After he mills you and it's mountain, you gotta throw it.
And it was just like the most brutal thing that ever happened. And
but it's so relatable because that would happen to me. Like,
Exactly.
I feel like that happens to me, you know?
and spoiler alert,
My opponent mills me for some inexplicable reason, and it's mountain.
yeah, and you're just like, oh great, those are exactly the cards I need. How did you get those specifically into my graveyard? This is the worst possible outcome. And I like laughed out loud at how funny that was. And they were both like, oh my god, because the game was basically over. Like, you kind of knew that obviously Ely's gonna win.
At that point, it's just like a slap in the face.
It really just
like
was
salt in the wound.
Yeah, it's just like, fuck you. And then Arna got like last in the whole tournament. That's why he said top 16 earlier, because he did the worst. But glad he got there at all. But he took it like a champ, and he ended up posting.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in good spirits.
Oh yeah, of course. He posted a clip on Twitter being like, "Hey, just remember that time where I got fucking milled for this." And I just like tweeted back like, "Oh, that's so brutal." And then Ely Cassis liked it, and I was like, "Yeah." But it was just...
Ely's such a wholesome guy too. Some of his interviews during the event.
Oh my
like,
god!
Yeah, I love this guy.
Yeah, Ely was really sweet. Of course, just about everyone is. So that was really great. But I don't think I've ever like laughed out loud that much at a Magic tournament where I'm like,
yeah,
fuck, that sucks so much. It doesn't really matter.
I feel you. That's happened to me so many times.
That fucking sucks. But let's go into like Constructed. So
yes,
coming out of draft, obviously everyone has differing records, and Sam Pardee and Andre Strasky are like the front runners. So we're mostly looking at them.
So they have to play each other right out the gates, I think.
Exactly. And so Strasky's on the Is It Epiphany deck, and Pardee's on the mono green train.
I mean, Andre won kind of easily. Mm-hmm. Andre's obviously a great player, and so is Sam. But I don't know. I think it was a little... At first sight, it wasn't so obvious how good these decks were, like how they were designed to beat green. But after watching the matches play out, it almost felt like green didn't have much of a chance.
And like, it's also funny because like going into our draft, that's kind of how I felt, where I was like, not that I'm a good player or anything, but like I can never beat Is It. And if I can like literally never beat it, it just seems, especially if they're main decking Burning
the opposite.
Hands.
I felt like I beat Is It all the time with random green decks. And in the Star City Games like competitive events, Is It had like a 40-something% win rate, and green was like 65%.
Yeah, but
green was just crushing.
Yeah, and I think it's because not only that they were coming to this tournament knowing there's only 16 people, and if green is around, I want to make sure I can crush it. But also, I just think that they're more skilled, and so their plays are better.
Certainly. But that's also true of the green players, right? Like, you have some of the best players in the world playing green in this event.
But I just think that, like, I think you can do more stuff in the Is It decks skill-wise. Like, some of those cards, like, Expressive Iteration is a skill-intensive card, and there aren't as many skill-intensive cards in mono green. Like, there are a lot of skill-intensive points, but, like, I think that you can skyrocket your results faster with cards in Is It Epiphany, and not as much in mono green. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm still not totally sure what I think happened here, but mono green got crushed, had a terrible event.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, there was another big Star City event that happened, and Worlds deck lists were obviously leaked, and it was the same time as Worlds, and mono green crushed that again. Mm-hmm. And the winner was exactly PV and Sam's list. Maybe that is like evidence of what you're saying.
We've talked about how Brainstorm is a card that is really good in Master's hands and horrible in not Master's hands, right?
In the hands of us mortals.
Yeah. And so I think there's a lot of cards that have a similar thing, which is like Memory Deluge and like your Expressive Iterations. Every card that's like, you have to pick cards that are going to be good for the specific moment, and knowing which ones to do that. And is specifically difficult to play depending on you have to pick which lands you're going to play, And in mono green, you're only playing 3 different lands, and in Izzet, you're playing a bunch of different ones. It's all those micro decisions that I think it helps a lot more when you're thinking, so I'm going to specifically pick a mountain for this because I know that if I want to hold the mountain in my hand and I'm going to play the flip land onto the battlefield so that if I get a snarl later, I can have it and I'll be able to keep it untapped. Or weird things like that like I don't think about ever. So like...
Totally. And like, I think a big part is what you were saying, right? Like, this is a higher level of competition, and they're going to get a bigger edge of playing a deck with all of these decisions. Like, they get you can leverage your play skill more in a deck like Epiphany than you can in mono green. But I still think there was a bit of variance here, because it's like, it shouldn't be that big a delta where mono green just gets totally shit on, but then at the like one level lower of competition, it's like 70% win rate or whatever.
Yeah. So when we're talking about these numbers,
like, I never saw the mono green deck really just come out the gates and smash, like, Ranger class into the Troll, into Isika's Chariot, into like a 5-drop.
Yeah,
and I never saw the draws that Izzet Epiphany gets all the time, in my experience, where they just do kind of nothing.
Yeah, I also think that Jawari Disruption fucking wrecked. Like,
dude, I love Jawari Disruption, and I've been a guy that's been like 4 Jawari Disruptions in all my blue decks for a long time, and I'm glad to see like it coming now that all the powerful shit has rotated. People are like, yeah, this card's great. It's almost as good as Censor, and I fucking love Censor.
It's so good. It's so good. Like, watch the final match or the final matches over and over again. Jean-Emmanuel, he went to the finals, obviously. He played Yuta. Yuta got him so many times with a Jawari Disruption over and over. Where you hold 2 Jawari Disruptions and you play one as a land so that they play into it and you get the other one. Oh, it was so...
All right, we need to talk about that finals matches, though, because that was so much fun to watch, because they're both just, like, laughing and smiling. Like, they're not like, oh, bullshit, he had a second, had his second of 2 Jawari Disruptions. Like, Jean-Emmanuel just, like, nods and laughs, gives him a nice, and Yuta gives the thanks.
Yeah, and they're, like, doing it back and forth.
This is how Magic should be, yeah.
You know what was fun I think there was a match with Matt Sperling and... he's playing against Andre Strasky, and you can tell it's a tense match or whatever to try to get into like the top 4, getting close to it. And Andre is sitting there, and they both have played one land, and Andre's trying to figure out what the second land he's going to play is, and he's going through a bunch of different things, and you can see that Matt Sperling's just like, your go. Just like, what are you going to play? Like, come on.
It's so funny to do that at like Worlds.
Exactly. It's not like, obviously he's not spamming it like an asshole, but he just gives a just a little dig.
I love Matt, man. Like, he's another one of those guys that's not afraid to speak his mind on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It was also,
and he's he just had an unbelievable season. Another guy that was on the brink of a top 4, lost to his own teammate.
Yeah. So
to get in,
he was really close. Sam Pardee and Ely Cassis were all like in contention there at the end. So
and Ely had bad tiebreakers, so he didn't get to play a
tiebreaker match. But it was very moist grueling for a lot of the time.
I forgot about this. I have to tell this story.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So like I said, I was waiting to watch the VODs later because, as we mentioned last time, it was Thanksgiving weekend in Canada, so I had to go on Sunday to spend time with some family, and that's what I did. So I didn't watch, and Sunday was the top 4, so I didn't watch any of it. But I knew that whether you were watching or not, you'd be kind of following. So I was like, just don't check your Discord. Get home, you can watch it, and then maybe some of it tomorrow, and then respond to his messages the next day. But I get home, and on my computer, our Discord chat was already open. Like, that was just the last thing I had used when I left. And so I see a message from you that's like, moist gruel, ! And I'm like, well, fuck it. Now I know that Jean-Emmanuel Depras wins. Like, fuck. I mean, I guess that's kind of cool. But okay, like, I guess I'll watch it. So I watched everything up to the grand finals. I watched, and I was like, well, I know Jean Emmanuel wins this match because I know he wins the whole tournament. I'm like, okay, he beats him. It's like, oh, fuck, that's great. Thanks, Zach. But then I'm like, it's late. I can't watch anymore. I'll save the grand finals for tomorrow. I'll watch him beat Yuta tomorrow. The next morning, or, well, not really morning, let's say kind of afternoonish, I was like, oh, I wonder if they banned Alron's Epiphany. So I go to the Wizards website to see if there was a ban and restricted announcement, and it's just like, our world champion Yuta Takahashi. I was like, how did I spoil this for myself twice? I managed to spoil everything somehow. I was like, well, I know Jean Emmanuel wins, and then right before actually watching the finals, I somehow looked it up and saw that he doesn't win the finals, and you must have been sent that message at some other point.
Yeah.
I spoiled this for myself twice somehow.
I'm so sorry. That's awful. No. So once
it was all like poor judgment on my part.
Yeah, because I had I was also doing some family stuff that day, so I would jump in and out to see who was in the next thing, and I saw some pivotal moments while I was going through. Because I just wanted to see who was in the finals. I just cared about who was playing, and I would open up to see who's playing, and then I'd close it, usually, because I couldn't just sit and watch because people were around me. And the only way you can know what's happening is you have to go on Twitch. Like, I can't just see it on Twitter or something. Like, the esports thing doesn't just, tell me what's happening. I don't know why.
Of course not.
Of course not. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just saw that Jean Emmanuel had lost and was in the lower bracket, and then busted his way through the lower bracket to get to finals. And so I was like, yeah, boys rule. Here we go.
Looking back, that's what I figured was what you were reacting
Exactly. So I was stoked that he was getting into the finals, and I was just happy about that. And I think it was even further before that. I think he just beat Andre Strasky, and I was happy about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I posted that, and then you weren't messaging me back, so I was like, oh, either he is busy with family or he doesn't want to know what's happening. So then I was like, I'm not going to say anything else, because I don't want him to accidentally see me going off on Yuta,
That's nice.
So I was like, I'm not going to say anything. And so it's hilarious to hear that you had that reaction thinking that I spoiled it for you when I was purposely trying not to spoil it for you.
But then you kind of didn't, and then I spoiled it for myself. Because I thought I already knew who the winner was. So I was like, there's no harm in checking the website.
Yeah. And
I'm just going to see Jean-Emmanuel Duprat's face. That's fine. But I just want to see if they banned anything.
And it was funny because I had snuck away for a second, and I was hiding in the kitchen, and I had turned it on to see what was happening. And it was literally 2 turns before Yuta wins the whole thing. So I sat there and saw it in real time as Yuta won, and the confetti's falling on his face, and he's freaking out. And I'm trying to explain it to my fiance's sister who's there, and I'm like, oh, so this guy just won the World Magic Championship, and she's just like, what? And I was like, don't worry about it, it's fine. I'm trying to explain to everyone it was really cool, this guy, and he went undefeated, and everyone's like, oh, cool, all right. I'm like, all right.
Just put it in football terms.
I tried.
They lost their first 4 games and then didn't lose another game.
I tried to explain that in golf terms, and they didn't really care. And I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever.
In any other sport, you guys would be raving.
Exactly, but this one, don't care as much. But anyway.
Yeah, but one thing, to the listeners, if you haven't seen it, because one thing that kind of annoyed me was Twitch chat, right? Okay, so I feel kind of bad for Jean Emmanuel in the sense that he got some rough draws in the finals.
He did.
There were some times where if he could have just drawn
anything,
a land,
or maybe
in 4 turns in one of the games, he would have won that game. And then he ends up having to just go for something, and it gets fucking Jory disruption. And he's like, well, if I'd drawn a land at any point this game, I was trying to play around that, but I just couldn't anymore. Mm-hmm. You got some nice draws earlier, though. But and the same thing happened to Strasky. Strasky had, I guess I said I never saw the Is It thing just not do its thing. And I guess I did, because that's how Strasky got eliminated. The Is It deck has a fail rate, and that's just what it was. It just didn't do anything for 4 games in a row. But still, chat was like, oh, what an esport in quotation marks, you know, like the shuffler decides who wins. And I was like, chat, guaranteed any of you in Yuta's seat lose that match for sure. Like, it was still a close. I know Jean Emmanuel missed on the land like several turns in a row, but it was an insanely close game, and Yuta played perfectly to like squeak it out.
Yeah.
Despite that,
there were other times where like Yuta had mulled to 5, and he still squeaked out something or got really close to it. So it's like, yeah, it sucks sometimes. You get really bad hands, and he just didn't keep horrible ones, and was like, you know what, I'm going to 5, even though this second hand is kind of better than the first one, but it's still bad. Like,
people need to understand how well Yuta played. Like, it was unbelievable. Every game I watched, I was like, why is he doing that? And then I would figure it out and be like, oh,
it's also
okay.
like the first thing is I look at his hand, I'm like, okay, this is your first play, and he plays a different land than I would play. I'm like, why did you play that land?
Right. And then you're like, okay, so you play the thing in the egg on turn 2, right? Like, oh, don't play it. Hold up Jwari Disruption, because if my opponent plays Magda, I can't win. His opponent plays Magda, Jwari Disruption. It's like, oh, I probably would have lost that game. Like,
yeah. And I'm thinking like, oh, thing in the egg blocks Magda, so that's fine. And like, no, you need to make sure it doesn't make any treasures. Like,
it doesn't block the gold span that's coming on turn 3, so.
Exactly. So like, it was crazy. What I do want to say, this was a huge moment, and you can find this all over the place because people have made videos of it. But in the lower bracket, Andre Strasky is playing Jean-Emmanuel Deprat.
Oh my God, this was incredible.
This was insane. So Strasky is down to, I don't even remember what his life total was, but very, very low. And it's basically an all-out attack, lethal attack from...
he's dead on board.
Basically. Dead on board from Deprat, and Andre has a couple blockers and a couple different things in his hand. He has a flipped Ashmouth Dragon. They can ping things, or it can shock things whenever you play creatures, spells. So in his hand, he basically has, it's almost like he has 4 mana, or a little bit more, but...
He has 4 mana.
Yeah, he has 4 mana, he can divide by 0 something. And basically he's trying to find his out in the match, or in the game.
Like, he needs to kill like 3 attackers to survive.
Basically.
So divide by 0, or 4, I think.
Yeah.
And divide by 0 takes care of 2, because it bounces 1 and it shocks another
else.
From the
because a lot of them are they're 2/2 cats, basically. So he decides that he's like, all right, I'm going to divide by 0. When I learn, instead of going to my sideboard, I'm going to discard a card from my hand and draw a card. Because that's an ability you can do when you learn, which is something...
Which I always forget.
Always forget. So you have to go to your hand, he discards a card, and the only mana he left up was 1 red source. And he had looked in his graveyard to be like, what do I have left? And the only cards he can cast are either Fading Hope or Spikefield Hazard. And so he's like, all right, well, Fading Hopes are in my graveyard. I think I have 1 more Spikefield, or he knows. I have one more Spikefield.
I think he had 1 more hazard, or he had 2 more hazards and 1 hope, I think, or
in his deck.
Like that.
So he's like, well, might as well go for the Spikefield Hazard. And then he draws off the top of the deck a Spikefield Hazard. And he fucking slams that, and Jean-Emmanuel is like, what the fuck? And like, through all of it happening, it ended up being like Jean-Emmanuel had this huge board, and at the end, it was just like 1 of the Storm Seekers left. And that was it.
Yeah.
And it was the most ridiculous thing. It was one of those crazy plays, and people have been showing it as like, oh, this is the slamming, Gabe Nassif putting out his lands and playing.
Right, it's as close as you can get to that.
Yeah, he's playing.
Because both players knew what was happening there.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that I loved about it, is Jean-Emmanuel's face. It's like, I think he was even kind of doing the crossing fingers thing, because he knows, like, all right, you're telling me you would only make this play if you're trying to top deck 1 of your 2 copies of this exact card. And so after he played it, Jean-Emmanuel had a big smile too. It's like, obviously, what the hell? But like, big smile, like, yeah, you made the right play and you got rewarded for it, you know?
Yeah. And it was crazy. It was really crazy. Just go back and watch it, because it is
a great moment, and Andre's pumped about it. Obviously,
it's the kind of thing that would go down if he had went on to win everything, it would have been the moment that was like, this was the moment.
For sure, exactly.
And
they say that all the time in sports, right? Like, if this game turns around, remember back to this moment.
So that would have been it. Instead, that's a really wonderful moment. But like, this tournament is going to be, we're going to remember it as Yuta Takahashi 7-0ing after 0-3, and then never missing a match in the top.
Yeah,
finals.
he went 0-3, 11-0 in matches. So
and him and his heartfelt, like, he plays with his heart and his soul is what he plays with, right? And you can see it on his face and the way that he reacts and the decks that he brings to the game. So
yeah, he loves those tempo decks. They call him the King of Fairies. Might have to call him the King of Dragons now.
Exactly.
But, I don't know if that's a Game of Thrones thing or something, but
I don't know, maybe. But in either case,
I hope his card is a fairy with his face.
Right. I hope he's a king. That's what I hope.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say though is like about Jean-Emmanuel Deprat's deck. They kind of made this narrative about it that he was like, I don't understand why I'm the only one playing Gruul. Like, these are all the best cards from last standard season. We're still allowed to play them, and they're still awesome. And I was a bit dubious of that. But then after watching him play, I was like, oh, the reason Gruul does, and it's what you were alluding to earlier, the reason Gruul does so poorly in less competitive events is because we're not as good as Jean-Emmanuel is. Like, holy fuck, did he play well? He would play against, like, he played against Sam Pardee so many times. He would be, like, sitting there mapping out the next 3 turns of how combat's gonna go, and he would exactly kill Sam with his life total at 1. And you're just like, what? How the fuck were you able to do that? Like, he was just completely masterful in his play of that deck. It was like always on the razor thin margin, and he would figure out exactly what to do to kind of get it just over the finish line without dying himself. And so Jean-Emmanuel's matches against Sam were some of my favorite from the tournament, because it was like just razor thin combat edges, and I like that kind of stuff. I love core set limited when everyone has a bunch of 2/2s and you got to figure out how to kind of squeeze it through.
And yeah, Jean-Emmanuel was crazy, but also we have quickly as we finish this up, but if you go to NTG data, they have a breakdown of the percentages of how decks went in the World Championship. Notably, obviously, it's hilarious because Is It Dragons was brought by one player and it got 100%. Yatta! Which is crazy because we've looked at a lot of these throughout different tournaments and we've never seen 100% before. So
I don't think I've ever seen anything above 70.
Yeah. And like after that, the best deck is Gruul Aggro, which is the other final deck.
Yeah,
but
Jean-Emmanuel Deprat,
who went 0-3 against Is It Dragons, which means that these matches, like
his games against you, his matches against you.
Every time he played Yuta, he lost, and that's true. But then it significantly dropped. So Gruul Aggro got 62.5%, and then we go to Grixis Turns, which is the Grixis Epiphany deck we were talking about, which is 56%. So okay. Not amazing, but everything else is less, like below 50%. And, Mono Green Aggro just sitting there at the bottom at 26.3.
Rough event for them.
Yuck.
You talk about the Is It Dragons row of straight hundreds. I love the Is It Dragons column of everyone was 0% against it. Yeah. Just think that's hilarious.
It's just like, nope, everyone lost. Sucks.
You can't beat Is It Dragons.
No, apparently. If Yuta Takahashi is playing it. What's really fun right now is that Standard is filled with World Championship decks and a bunch of people who don't know how to play them. And you can just wreck people because they have no idea what's going on.
So I've been playing Rogues, which is great.
Really?
And I know. I've built a Rogues deck. The thing is, you got to lean into... It used to be like, I might mill you out. I might attack you. Mm-hmm. You don't know. No, now you got to kill them with damage every time because... you just don't have the payoffs for milling that you used to. So you can't justify Ruin Crab with no Fabled Passage. And you're not going to play fucking Evolving Wilds, are you kidding? but it's just like a kind of control aggro deck. And you have the werewolf. It's like a rogue werewolf that when it hits them, it loots. But if you flip it, when it hits them, it draws
the
a card.
blue one
That's
that turns into a green one. Yeah.
And I've been having a lot of fun with it. But I think I'm like 5-0. But I've played against Is It Turns, Is It Dragons, Is It Turns Again, Mono Green, and then Grixis. So it's like, I'm just playing against world decks here.
Yeah.
And the guy who played Dragons, his username was King of Dragons. So I'm pretty sure it was Yuta Takahashi.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like his one standard loss this month.
I'm sure that...
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
I mean, who else could it be? Yuta is the King of Dragons.
Or it could be a new player who doesn't know what's happening at all.
No, I'm pretty sure.
What rank are you at?
It's gold.
Gold. Oh wow. Wow. I'm platinum.
Gold
right
1.
Now. Yuck. Get out.
Fighting my way up.
Just kidding. You being it's fine to be whatever rank you are.
I'm pretty sure Yuta made a new account and is fighting his way
There's
up.
no way.
And then I beat him. That's the only possible
They
explanation.
give Yuta just like a mythic account every season because he is the world champion and he gets.
I did think it was surprising when Yuta tried to Jwari Disruption my spell when I had a mana open. It's not a play he would usually make, but you know he did go for it in this situation.
It's worth it to get rid of that extra mana because you could play a 1-drop or something, so you might as well make sure.
Could have flashed in a 1-drop on his end step. Yeah.
Well, that is a thing in that deck actually. To be fair,
I might have considered.
I do hope that the card that Yuta makes is called Yatta, and then
yeah,
it's like an Is It spell or something. That would be pretty great. Yeah, Jeff, let's. It's time to finish this off. I think. Do we have any last thoughts about what's going on? What happened? I feel like I had something, but I kind of lost it.
I think my only last thoughts are just that I freaking loved this tournament. The top 4 was 4 different decks, 2 of which were Epiphany decks. 3 of which, I guess, but 2 of which were turns decks or whatever you want to call them, and they did not win.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the last thing I wanted to say. So, I've been saying for a while that and we've been kind of talking about this, the 3 best cards in the format is kind of like the big 3 from Kaldheim. It's Goldspan Dragon, Asika's Chariot, and Alrund's Epiphany. And it's like no secret that these are just the 3 best cards in the format. Goldspan Dragon kind of went downhill for a while, but that's because everyone was playing Ren and 7, and there wasn't a lot of Ren and 7 in this event, so Goldspan did very well. But I noticed that the 2 finalists were the people that decided to play 2 of those 3 cards rather than just 1.
I think that's great. Yeah, absolutely.
We had the Asika's Chariot Goldspan Dragon versus the Goldspan Dragon Alrund's Epiphany.
I mean, like, Yuta's...
that's some pro deck building.
That's true. I mean, like, after sideboards, Yuta was like, goodbye to Alrund's Epiphany, and we're going straight into Goldspan.
And after sideboard, some of the turns decks brought in Goldspan Dragon.
Exactly. So I was getting that Goldspan Dragon is just the best card, and, like, why would you play...
Well, that's what we thought coming into the format. We're like, Goldspan Dragon's going to be the best card. And then it was like, oh, I guess it's Asika's Chariot. Oh, no, wait, I guess it's Alrund's Epiphany. And then these people are like, no, it's still Goldspan.
Yeah, and that's how I feel right now. It's Goldspan Dragon.
But then people are going to bring more Ren and 7s, and Goldspan does suck against Ren and 7. You just can't attack into the token.
That is true. So, until we get another... I mean, Fading Hope is still good against the token, but until we get more cards... hopefully the Crimson Vow will destroy all tokens. So,
yeah.
And help out the Goldspan Dragons. But we will find that out in November, whenever that comes out. But for now, I think it's last call, Jeff. We got to wrap it up.
Last call? Yeah.
Jeff, you ready for last call? Ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready for the big reveal.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. That's right. Dead and Dead.
Yep. So we both selected Dead and Dead.
That's right. 9.5. Fucking get wrecked.
This the modern deck, like the modern day card level quality equivalent to the old Dead Guy Ale decks.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, hey, that one used to be good, but this one's good now. Jeez.
Yeah, it's just like twice as strong.
Beers. We rate them.
Yes.
On a scale of bronze to mythic. Oh, just like the tiers in Arena. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
It's nice. Just a reminder that when we rate beers, that we're not talking about the tiers you're actually in, so don't be offended by any of the things that we say about the specific tiers. However, bronze beers are trash. They're the worst. You literally won't finish them. They'll just sit on the table and get warm.
Yeah, the relation to the Arena tiers is supposed to be cute and not indicative of anything.
Yeah.
That being said, silver, basically they don't have a whole lot going on. They're pretty boring.
Yeah, gold is fine, but you won't really think about it or drink it again.
Platinum, solid. And you'll drink this again. Yeah.
Diamond is, these are exceptional, and you'll recommend this to your friends.
Yeah. And then mythic, best of the best. Well, yeah. Maybe we'll have to add in a Yuna Takahashi level. But for now, mythic is the highest we got, and you would recommend this beer to anyone who will listen. You will go up to a stranger in the store who even glanced at it, and you'll say, you should glance at that again.
Yeah. And the last tier is Yatta! That's the last one. And that means that Yuta drinks this beer, and you are not worthy to drink it. So please just send it to him. Our new world champion, and we will stop talking about Paolo, and we're going to talk about Yuta from now on.
It's true. Yeah.
Basically.
Paolo had a good run.
Great job. See you later. Bye-bye. Anyway, let's talk about Dead and Dead, this rogue beer that is their, like, I'm not going to say upgraded Dead Guy Ale, but, like, intensified Dead Guy Ale.
Yeah, it's their fancy version, right? It's aged in these oak chips to give it that flavor, which I definitely get coming through.
For sure.
The vanilla, it says somewhere on the can that there's vanilla. I definitely get that too. And I don't know, I think it's just really nice. It's malty. I've had Dead Guy Ale, but I think it was a really long time ago, so I don't really remember what it tastes like without these enhancements.
Same. I've also had Dead Guy Ale a long time ago, so I don't really remember.
But this beer is delicious.
Oh, it's great. Like, it's really alcohol forward, for sure. But, like, not... At first, I was a little worried that it was going to be too alcohol-y. But then, like, as I started settling into it and the alcohol started getting me, oh, it's nice. It's real nice. Yeah, I think this beer is great. It says that it pairs well with coconut shrimp, ribeye, and chocolate souffle, and those all sound delicious right now. It's got me nice and
here for that.
Toasty, and I'm hungry for those things. I like this. I'm gonna give this a diamond.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I was thinking too. This is like solidly diamond too. I don't think it's even the platinum diamond border.
No.
As soon as I took the sip of this, in the second round, I was just like, yeah, that's diamond for sure.
This is a good one. This is one where like, oh, we could grab a couple of these. Yeah. This is good. Let's drink this one. So it is for special occasions because it's 9.5. So watch out. You can't just drink this on a random Wednesday like we are right now. But
yeah, that would be crazy.
Oh, that's so weird. But yeah, I definitely pick this one up. It's
isn't a beer you drink during the World Championship. It's maybe a beer you drink after the World Championship.
Exactly. This is the one that you celebrate your victory or your pick's victory. Or this is the one you drink while it's during the commentary that you wish was better. Sorry. Shots fired.
They have been fired. I mean, we fired them earlier. So
we did a bit. But yeah, sweet. This, I just love it. And I don't have a lot else to say besides you should try it for yourself. So I think we can move on to the 20 Hazy Years, the New England IPA from Black Oak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I picked this one up. It like delivered on the promise to me of, okay, a nice malt forward, but you still have that creaminess, kind of a little bit of sweetness from the lactose. And it's a New England style IPA. This one for me just kind of suffered from being up against a really strong opponent.
Yeah. I think so too. I also thought that it had some, my can had some like floaties, which I don't know where from. Like there is some sediment sometimes in IPAs
Yeah.
and things. This one had lots of sediment and some, I think some of the lactose may have still been kind of in flake-ish form. So it did not necessarily look as like,
Interesting. Mine was pretty crisp.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I poured it and looked at it immediately and I was like, oh, there's like things in it.
Debris.
Yeah. So that was not as appetizing, but it never, like, I'm still going to drink it. Like, it doesn't make, it's not a huge problem. It's just, like, not my favorite thing to see. But as far as the taste goes, like, it was a good New England IPA, very smooth. I agree with that. The lactose did exactly what you said. It was very smooth and creamy and full-bodied.
So where to rate it? I mean, it's hard for me to give this diamond. So I guess for me, it's just kind of platinum.
Yeah.
I would drink this again. Yeah, I think this kind of qualifies as platinum for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think without the floaties, it's definitely platinum. I think the floaties the only thing that was like iffy with me. But as far as the taste was like still strong. So like I did like it quite a bit. There wasn't anything as far as the taste went that I was like off about. So maybe I just had like a weird can. Maybe it was kind of closer to the bottom and if I open another one, it won't be as much like that. So, yeah, I think I'm good with platinum.
I think it's kind of funny because when I drank it, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And it's what I wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I read oat and lactose New England IPA, like this is what I imagined and this is a good version of it. Mine had no floaties.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. But I was like, oh, maybe this is like maybe platinum, maybe diamond, pretty good. And then I had the next beer, which was like solidly, obviously diamond. And I was like, oh, the other one's not diamond.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the other one's like, oh, this is solid. Like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's a good beer. Yeah, like platinums are good beers.
Yeah, platinums are good beers. Like very good. I think we do get into like sometimes we can be a bit harsh. Sometimes I can be a bit harsh. I think you are not as harsh as I am on the beers. So yeah, I think you're right. The Diamond Platinum, good round of beers this week. It's great. I loved it.
Yeah. I felt that as soon as I drank both of them. I was like, all right, solid week.
Yeah, really good week.
Some strong ratings.
I knew going in that I would like Rogue because Rogue is. I think I've liked all their stuff. So I want more of their things. I want to be able to have access to it because we can't find as much up here. So, hey.
Pretty much I've had Dead Guy Ale and I bought it because I knew about the like legacy deck. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it's actually really good. And then that's the only Rogue I've tried other than this. And it's been years since I even had that. So
their oatmeal stouts were great. Their brown ales were great. They had a bunch of stuff.
Oh, man, that sounds dope.
It was delicious. I love that place. But speaking of beers and Rogue beers, if you ever want to send us a beer, you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram because we're going to closing time is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say we're going to closing time.
And if you see us on MTG Arena, our username will be Arena Regulars Podcast, you can think, hey, I'm going to go to Twitter and Instagram and I'm going to figure out how to send them a beer. That'd be great.
Yeah. We like beer, obviously.
It'd be a nice consolation prize for our crushing defeat at your hands.
Yeah, because you're so strong. And you honestly.
Although I did beat Yuta Takahashi earlier today, so I guess.
No, you beat.
I'm really the world champion.
You beat the King of Dragons, right?
Which is definitely Yuta.
I thought Yuta was the King of Fairies, or just the.
Is
king.
It not like is his handle not like King of Dragons like XXX_09 or whatever?
Definitely not 100%.
Pretty sure. Pretty sure.
Because it would probably be like what 98 or 99 if it was anything. Whenever he started playing Magic.
Oh my god, are you insinuating that I beat a 12-year-old?
I mean,
because I'll take it. Those kids need to learn some manners.
They gotta give out some wins, to people. I gave out a ton of wins whenever I go to FNM. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, I still give out wins on Arena all the time.
Oh yeah, but it's usually because I'm drinking Dead and Dead from Rogue because I'm fucking trashed. Anyway, if you want to talk to me personally about how I swear too much, you can find me at Zulberg. That's ZULBERG on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Hold on, that was too fast. I need to write that down. How do I contact you about swearing too much?
ZEULBERG.
Okay. I didn't understand the first letter though. What was that?
Z, like it's like an S, but it's sharper.
Oh, okay. Z. Gotcha.
No, it's a Z.
Like Dragon Ball Z.
No one says that. It's Dragon Ball Z.
Anyways, my Twitter is Blues Brews MTG, spelled like it sounds, with no crazy Z's in there.
Oh, interesting. I see that your Twitter and Instagram handle is it's off of that new trend with Steve from Blues Clues coming back and making it.
Yeah, I actually predate that, but thank you for noticing.
Oh, I just want to
that it was actually a joke about Blues Clues.
I see.
Was before it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but Blues Clues aired like a long time ago, so like I'm pretty sure it was always cool. Like,
nope, I had it first.
Before Blues Clues, before Mail Time. I'm pretty sure I knew about Mail Time and the Salt and Peppers.
I'm sticking to this story.
Okay, well, I think you're wrong. But anyway, if you want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere that you are listening to us right now, whether it be in the United States, Canada, or Poland, we would love to...
or Spain, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. Please just leave us a review, hit us up. We'd love to talk to you, and I hope you'd also want to talk to us. We're probably not sober whenever you talk to us. So,
but I mean, we haven't done any Polish or Spanish beers yet, so
that's true. If you ever that's what we really want to say. If you have Polish or Spanish beer recommendations, we would love to hear them or find them if we can, because we need to broaden our horizons. We'd love to hear what you got to say. This has been the Arena Regulars,
reminding you that your current world champion is Yuta Takahashi.
Good night. All right, that's fine.